Hello everyone. In this video, we are walking through an automation that watches your Gmail inbox for invoice emails, uses AI to extract the data, saves everything to Google Drive with organized file names, and locks it all in Google Sheets. If an invoice exceeds $500, it will notify your team on Slack. I've already built and tested this workflow, so I know exactly how it behaves. We are going to run through several real world scenarios and I'll walk you through what's happening at each step. Let's go ahead. Now, this tutorial is perfect if you want to automate invoice processing and eliminate manual data entry, organize your invoice files automatically with smart naming, see what's possible with n8n and AI automation, build a system that handles duplicates and high value notifications. For all this, you don't need to be a developer. I'll go through all the nodes one by one and how they work. Let's also look at the tool stack that we will need to execute this workflow. So, particularly, I want to highlight two core tools that are doing all the heavy lifting. These are the engines that make this automation possible. Then we have the supporting tools that most of you probably already have. First, let's talk about the core automation platform n8n. It's the tool that is orchestrating all other tools and executing the automation logic. Think of it as the conductor. It's where the entire workflows run and coordinates everything. And n8n has a very generous free tier where you get a lot of free executions. But many just prefer to use n8n Cloud because of the simplicity and upgrade to a paid version to execute multiple workflows. Now let's talk about LlamaCloud. This is really exciting and probably new to most of you. This is the AI brain that does the heavy lifting. It classifies documents as invoices, receipts, or other documents, and then extracts all the structured data automatically, like vendor names, amounts, dates, line items. This is what eliminates the manual data entry, and basically, this is a game changer. It's also free with limits on API credits, and you only have to pay when you're processing high volumes beyond the free tier. For the supporting tools, most of you already have these. Gmail monitors your inbox for invoice emails, and we download the PDF attachments from there. Then we have Google Drive, where we store the PDFs, and Google Sheets logs all the extracted data and enables our duplication detection. Now, also, that's completely free. So, as you can see in the table, you can build and test this entire workflow without paying anything. You only need to pay if you're scaling up or need advanced features. We also have added Slack as an optional tool through which you can send notifications for high value invoices. And the Slack setup is also completely free. Let us go through some of the assumptions we have made for building out this workflow. So, first is that the invoices are shared as email attachments, they are not in links or as embedded content. PDFs are the primary invoice format, so we will be processing PDFs only. We are assuming that invoices are coming as PDFs. The invoice emails will arrive in a single Gmail inbox that we will monitor. Each email contains at most one invoice PDF attachment. Invoice data follows standard formats and has vendor name, invoice number, these things. So these assumptions basically apply to all the scenarios that we will test out in this workflow. Now, finally, it's time for the exciting part, and let me show you the entire workflow in n8n. So this is the entire node graph built in n8n. The way to understand is I'll run it through the first scenario and explain you the different nodes one by one, how they have been configured, their purpose, and some of the design decisions we made. So everything starts with the Gmail trigger where we monitor a Gmail inbox. So let me open it up. Now, if I click on fetch test event, it should pull from my Gmail inbox. I have already connected my Gmail account. It polls my Gmail inbox every minute. And basically, it listens for messages received. And filter wise, it is configured as is unread has attachment. So we are only looking for emails which have an attachment. And we again say it unread emails only. And keep this option on where if it has an attachment, we have to download that attachment. So I have already sent myself an email. So it's the top email, top unread email that has an attachment. So when I go to n8n again and click on fetch test event, it should be pulling this particular invoice email. So let's run it now. So you can see it pulled this particular email which has an invoice. We get the JSON data. So basically we have kept simplify off. So we get a entire payload that we can then use later on. And we also have the binary file. So it had one attachment and we have the binary data. Now we have a code node added after the Gmail trigger. So the need for this is, say we get a binary file from Gmail and putting every P node directly uploading to LlamaCloud for further processing, which will consume credits. We use some code written in JavaScript to filter out some obvious or attachments that are not invoices. So basically, it looks at certain attachments. If they are logos, whatever, if they are PNGs, different file formats, we exclude them. And even if they are PDFs, they have certain names, kind of exclude them completely. This code is generated by AI and it runs on all items. So basically, Gmail trigger will give one item, one mess per workflow run, and that one item is getting processed. And code basically filters out some attachments that are not invoices. So it gives two values. So if you run it, so here it has an invoice attachment. And if you look at the JSON, it will say has candidates equals to true and there's one candidate. So then we have an if node. The if node job is if it is true, then okay, upload that PDF file to LlamaCloud. If not, then just mark that email as read. So currently, if we run the if, and so it goes true branch, and we have the attachment with us being passed Llama Cloud. So we have a HTTP node here. Basically, the first node's job is to basically upload the PDF to Llama Cloud for further processing. So Llama Cloud has an API and files which we have configured. So if we post the PDF attachments to this endpoint, I have already created a credential for it. So when we execute, the PDF will get uploaded to LlamaCloud. Let me execute that step. So this will happen real time. The moment I click, it will get uploaded. Okay. So the file has been uploaded to Cloud it gives us certain JSON details. Okay. So now we have one file uploaded and it is passing that file to the another HTTP node whose job is to first classify again whether it is a PDF or not. Now let me explain you again why we are doing it. Because the main endpoint that we want to use is extract, which analyzes PDF files with AI and extracts data, but it is a bit expensive. So Llama Cloud also offers another endpoint, another feature called classify to classify what the document tiles is. So we have configured this node where we first have to create the classify job as it is an async endpoint. We have to wait for the result. So this is what we'll pass. So we already have the data coming from Llama Cloud. It's already in. Let me execute this step. So now we have created a classification job and there's a job ID and the status is pending and it is looking whether this thing is invoice or not. And if it is an invoice, it will give us some confidence score. So then we have the wait node. Let me run it. It basically waits for certain time before actually fetching the classification results. So this is a kind of polling. We wait for some time and then we get the results. So now this particular node, get classification results node, job is to you pass in the job ID and it will give you the results of classification. So I think by now the classification would have been done. Let us click on execute step and boom, what it is saying is that this document contains all the key elements of an invoice. Okay, confidence one. So we asked it whether it was an invoice or not, and it is giving with full confidence that it is an invoice. So now we know it is an invoice. So there's a if node which just checks what the previous node is sending. So it is sending that this is an invoice. If it was not an invoice, we would have just marked that email as read. Okay. And enrich is basically putting all data in one place for you to view. But this is an invoice. So now we have to create an extract job. So now, in order to create an extraction job, you first need to create an extraction agent. While we can do that also programmatically by adding another node and creating that agent, getting the agent ID, and then passing it to the extraction job, let me show you by doing it in the LlamaCloud interface. So this is the LlamaCloud dashboard. So it's free to sign up. I will drop the link in the description below. It offers various tools. So we already use Classify. It also offers parsing to parse PDFs. So let's go to extract. We need to create an agent from the drop down. I already created this invoice extractor agent. Basically, it's very simple. You have to do it through the UI. I say that you have to target from which you have to extract structured data is a document. And this is the schema output I want. So you can define it using a prompt also. So basically, I have already defined, I'm saying I want the vendor name, I want the invoice number, invoice date, due date, total amount, currency, and the line items that were built for. Now, from the drop down, if I go to manage agents, I'll see the extract agent ID. So this is our extract agent name, and you can copy the ID from here. You just say you copy it, and you go back to your n8n node. You open the create extraction job. So there's this endpoint. Basically, you create a job first and then poll for it, similar to how we did for Classify, because they are async endpoints. They take some time to run. So we cannot just wait for it to complete. We have to just give it the task. It gives you back a job ID. Then you use that job ID to get the actual result. So we will give it a task. So we will give the task to this extract agent ID that you can pass in the body parameters, and we have already pasted the agent ID. Now we have given it the file ID, which is already uploaded to LlamaCloud. We got a file ID, right? Now when I click on execute step, it will ingest that PDF and create an extraction job. So let me click that. So now the extraction job is created, and this is the schema. So let's get out of it and run the wait step. If we run the workflow from here, this will be run automatically, but we are going step by step so that we have a better understanding of how everything is configured. So let me run it. It gets one item. You can configure the amount of wait here, but typically 20-30 seconds is more than enough. You wait for that time and then you give it the ID to get the extraction results. So let's open the get extraction results. Basically, we give it the job ID from the create extraction step, and it will give us the result. Okay, so let's just execute and see what structured data we get. So great, we get the vendor name, the invoice number, invoice date, due date, we get all the structured data. So wonder if you had to do all this manually, getting the data pasting, but with Llama Cloud AI, you are able to get that easily. You are also able to pull in all the line items. So now we have the extraction data from the invoice with us. Now, after we get the extraction results, we have a build files path set node. What it does is it takes different input fields and combines them in a useful way to create a file name so that when it gets saved to Google Drive, we have the same file name. Let me execute it. As you can see, it combines the invoice date with the vendor name. So this is the purpose of the set node. Now, once we have the file name configured, we need to first check if that invoice is a duplicate or not. The way we do it is we check for the sender email and invoice number as a key identifier in the Google Sheet. So let me first show you the Google Sheet that we have configured. This is the Google Sheet. Currently, it is empty. We have just added the header rows where different data fields will be mapped to. So when run this particular node, because it is empty, it will just pass out one item, an empty item. If I open it, it just passes out an empty item. Now, this particular code node reads through the entire Google Sheet rows, checks with the extracted invoice number and sender email, and if it is a duplicate, it goes through the true route. If it is not a duplicate, it goes through the false route. Let's run this. So it is receiving one item. Basically, because there's no invoice already in the Google Sheets, there's nothing to compare to. So this goes to the false branch. Now, this particular node, prepare binary for upload, what it does is it basically gets the file ready for uploading to Google Drive along with the file name that we computed. So let me go through it. So basically, it receives all this data, and when you execute this, it gives you the file along with the JSON data. Now, when you run this Google upload to Google Drive, so we have already connected our Google Drive account. Let me go show you. This is the empty folder. So we have this folder with us. Now, when I run this particular Google Drive node, let's see what happens. So we have that invoice uploaded to Google Drive. Now, going back to the workflow, now we want to add the data to Google Sheets also, the structured data that we extracted using AI. So let me first open the Google Sheets node. So it receives all this data and we map it to the different columns in our Google Sheets. Now, when we execute this particular node, so you can see it outputted all these things. And let's go back to Google Sheets if the data has been added as a row. And boom, the data is there with all the fields and pending status column, the sender email, the invoice file link is also added because we first uploaded, grabbed the file link through that node, passed it to this, and now we have the invoice file also. We can click and go to that particular file. Let me click, and that we can directly go to that particular file. So that is very cool. Everything is connected to each other. Let me get out of this node. Now, we also have a high value node. The way we have configured this is if the value of the amount field in your currency is more than 500, then it will send a Slack notification. Let me show it to you. The way the Slack node is configured is to send a templatized message that pulls dynamic data to the general channel. So this is the message template written in expression mode. As you can see, new high value invoice received. When the name is there, amount has a dynamic variable, and even the link is being pulled from a previous node, upload to Google Drive node. So we can always do that. If you see, the one thing that n8n does is you can refer any previous node item data in a node following that. So in the upload to Google Drive node, we have this web link. Okay, so that we are passing here. So this is what it will show. Let us execute it to see how it works. So let me execute it. As you can see, we have received a message in our Slack channel with all the details and a link to view the full invoice. So you can see the full invoice here. This was the entire first execution of the workflow we showed you, where we sent a high value invoice and it passed through various nodes, got classified by LlamaCloud AI. The details got extracted. We were able to upload the file here. So the file is uploaded. We have the structured data here. We have a message sent to Slack. So it did everything we wanted. I'll show you a few more scenarios. One where we send an invoice where amount is less than 500, and one where we try to send the same invoice twice. Now let's try to run this workflow again and see if we are able to detect duplicates, because we already have the invoice file here and the data in Google Sheets. What I'll do is first I'll say refresh this workflow also. And before that, let me, because what it does is the current workflow marks the email as read after it processes it. So in order to pick this one again, I'll mark it as unread. Now, when I go here and execute the workflow again, it should not add a new row. It should detect the duplicate. So let me execute it. So the workflow has started executing again. Let me zoom in a bit. So it's going through all the steps. And at this point, it should pass because it should detect that, hey, this is a duplicate, and it should take this path rather than re-uploading to Google Drive and adding another row to Google Sheets. So let's see. This is all happening live in front of you. So here we have the wait node. It waits for some time, and here it should go here. Boom. So if you look here, the last step, so it gathers this, but it said duplicate reason, duplicate found, invoice from this person already exists in the sheet. So it's doing very robust duplicate deduction. Okay. So this is the test of being able to detect duplicates and not adding. Now we are going to send an invoice that is less than $500 in total amount and see if it skips the Slack notification part or not. So I have sent myself this invoice. So it is at the top. It is unread. The last one got read. So this will be the one that gets picked when the workflow will be run. So let me run the workflow. So the workflow is executing again. So everything is working smoothly. We should reach this step, and here it should branch to false. As you can see, here it branched to false. The item got passed here. So these are the details. Okay. And here enrich is basically putting the data together for further processing. So we grab from the subject line. So this is the subject line. Check this. Okay. We grab that also. And we get everything. And this thing gets added. So if we go here, we have that new data from Stripe. This is from Stripe, right? From Stripe. So we have the data and we have the invoice file saved here. All right, then we have seen the system in action and how it handles different scenarios. Now let's talk about some broader ways you can customize this workflow to meet your specific stack and use cases. If you're not using Slack, you could swap that notification node for WhatsApp, Telegram, or Microsoft Teams. The pattern is the same: trigger on a condition and send a message. Your team might prefer a different communication channel. Similarly, if you are not a Google Sheets user, you could replace that with Airtable, Notion, or even Excel via API. The core idea is the same. You're logging structured data somewhere. Some teams prefer Airtable's database features, others need Excel for their existing processes. You could also extend this beyond invoices. The same pattern works for receipts, contracts, purchase orders, or any document that arrives via email. You just need to adjust the classification rules and extraction schema, but the workflow structure stays the same. And if you want deeper integration, you could push the extracted data to QuickBooks, Xero, or your preferred accounting software, or connect it to a CRM to track vendor relationships. The workflow gives you a clean, structured data. You can send it wherever you would need it. These are just a few ideas. Now, if you're watching this and thinking this workflow would be valuable for your business, you would rather have somebody build it for you or handle the customization. And here I am happy to help. Whether you need a custom build from scratch or want to customize this workflow for your specific needs, just reach out. You can find my email in the description below and we can discuss your requirements in more detail. Alright, that's a complete walkthrough of this invoice processing workflow. In the next video, we'll be building another automation workflow. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.